Thank you for watching, liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing right now.
Thanks again for liking, for sharing, for commenting, and for subscribing. If you want me to do more live reviews and interact with you, well, that's what you got to do. You got to tell me that's what you appreciate. You've got to show me that, because otherwise I'm not going to know. The value of doing this is so that you guys can be here with me live. So I also wanted to make note that the push notification went out if you have the free Locker Gnome app installed for either iOS or Android. We're pushing an update down the pike. Windows Phone users have the unofficial Locker Gnome app that one of you had created. There is unfortunately no Windows 8 app for Locker Gnome at this point in time. Maybe someone will build one. Hey, have at it. All our feeds are out there for you to use in an application that would be fun for me to play with on my Surface Pro. So you should have received a notification like that, and you should be able to see that Furers is our top user in the Locker Gnome app today. Free, available on iOS and Android. Please talk about the pen. Don't worry. I'm reading your comments now, but I've got a few of them written down on printed paper. I had to make sure I covered everything in this particular review. But first, a few bits of housekeeping. I have to thank Intel for helping me get this Surface Pro. They made it possible. Of course, the Surface Pro is running on a Core i5 processor, the Intel platform, and it's something that I would tell you, my initial impressions, that's one of the first things I wanted to say, have been positive. And initially, trying it, picking it up, I never really get that feeling like I want to put it down. Unlike, there was some kind of noise that came from the air. Did you hear that? Well, the things that could happen when you're doing a live video feed. So thank you to Intel for providing the opportunity to do this review and to have a chance to play with the Surface Pro. I also have to tell you that I'm very grateful for our sponsor. We're supported by GoToMeeting, and that's what is bringing you this video today. GoToMeeting with HD Faces, if you haven't tried it yet, is a powerfully simple way to meet online from anywhere. With GoToMeeting, you can share the same screen, making it easier to be on the same page, all while seeing each other in HD video. You can easily launch or join a meeting using your computer, phone, or tablet. I use GoToMeeting all the time to talk to people on my various teams because I have a lot of projects that are in the air, and it's just easier to use a computer to connect with them rather than driving to the same point every time to meet. I save a lot of money by using GoToMeeting. You can try GoToMeeting free for 30 days if you head over to GoToMeeting.com, click the Try It Free button, and use the promo code Perillo. The review of the Surface Pro. I know many of you guys were just expecting I was going to do this. Hey, come on, it's interactive. I'm giving you guys a chance to play along. My initial impressions, and you can follow along in this video's description because I gave you everything that I'm going to cover here. Most everything, I should say. Most everything? Most? Initial impressions were largely positive. I felt that as a device, specifically in its class, an Ultrabook, it stood well against the competition. It never really struck me as something that I would not, as I had referenced before, want to return, much like I did with the Surface with Windows RT, or now what Microsoft's calling the Surface RT. Initial impressions, positive. In terms of the weight or the feel in the hand, well, let me go ahead and take away the touch cover, which I have to tell you this too. Even though this is not a part of the official Surface Pro review, I was happy. I was honestly shocked that the touch cover, not to be confused with the type cover, was very responsive. Even though, the keys don't really have any action to them, I was able to type a variety of things and made just as many mistakes on this keyboard as I would have made on any physical keyboard. So I think Microsoft did their homework with the touch cover. If you're wondering if it was worth buying, it's certainly worth trying. And to the point where I didn't even want to return it to get a touch cover, although I probably would have preferred black instead of red. I know. It's because I don't want it to be lost, when I hold it behind me in front of my red curtains. Love the color red. So I'm just going to remove that here. It doesn't add that much weight or bulk to the Surface Pro, although the Surface Pro is a bit heavier or a bit bulkier compared to the Surface RT. That being said, it was never something where I felt it was too heavy for what it is. And that's probably the most difficult thing when it comes to describing what the Surface Pro is, because there's a lot of things it isn't. It is not an iPad replacement. It is not a laptop. It is a tab top, a laplet. But I would say, as far as a computer that you could carry around with you, I think you would be happy with its weight, given that it, and another point, that I would continue to make is that it is not going to leave you wanting. And that's something that's important to look at when you read reviews, you watch reviews, and I'll address these points as we go on. But knowing that this is more of a traditional type of computer or a traditional PC, the fact that it is as light as it is, I mean, I'm getting a little fatigued, but certainly not horrible. I could carry this around with me and not stress out about it. Easily carryable in a knapsack, or a shoulder bag, a purse, or what have you. Although it may be a bit bulky for smaller purses, it would be somewhat purseable and not add that much weight to what you might be carrying around. In terms of the hardware design and the options, of course, you've probably read the spec sheet, so I don't really want to belabor those points. That's not what my reviews are really about. It's about that overall experience. And I thought, as I said with the Surface RT, that I appreciated the design ethos that Microsoft applied when it has come to the first generation of Surface products, Surface RT as well as the Surface Pro. I did appreciate very much having a kickstand built in, although that being said, it was a bit frustrating to try to pull it out on one end and end up catching on a lip that wasn't really designed to be caught to lift that kickstand out. I also found it to be a bit awkward in using the kickstand on a lap, but that's where I said it's not exactly a laptop. It could be a laptop replacement potentially, but just not having it set on your lap. It really doesn't work as well that way, even with the kickstand being as rugged as it is and snaps right into place. It seemed to work well. In terms of what the hardware should do, and that is to be there and to get out of your way. And that's really, part of a good design ethos is that there was nothing that annoyed me about the design. Like, I was like, God, it looks kind of clunky. It looks kind of junky. I never said that about the Surface Pro. And as far as the hardware goes, I never said that about the design of the Surface RT either. In terms of responsiveness, so I just tapped the Windows button there. Okay, reorient. Swear it's... Did I lock the orientation somewhere here? Give me a second. No, I don't think I did. Hey, you're making me look bad. Oh, there we go. Okay, now it's reoriented itself. Let's go ahead and scroll up. The screen responsiveness, and I think this is probably one of the more prevalent points that I want to make in this review. When it becomes an issue of having a tablet or a touchscreen computer, you want that screen to be responsive. And I found that the Surface Pro was absolutely responsive. A night and day difference between the Surface RT, which I did rebox and return, and the Surface Pro. The screen responsiveness is not disappointed. Did not disappoint me at all. My Oregon Life says, well, I'm disappointed because I thought this was live and clearly it's not. It is. And I think I just proved it there. The idea of being able to touch the screen and have it respond right away, certainly at the OS layer, is crucial. And I would say aided in my experience or having a good experience overall with the Surface Pro. In terms of color representation and text clarity, did not have a problem with either one of them. I never found that use your location. I thought I already enabled that. Maybe it was an update that pushed it out, or that because I had to give it permission to use my location. I found that browsing web pages or just looking at images, I never thought that it was too oversaturated or undersaturated. The text was certainly crisp enough for me to read without feeling like, oh God, I'm reading a screen. Not insanely sharp text, but I would say sharp enough for a good majority of the reading that you might do on your Surface. And that may very well be reading web pages, potentially even ebooks as well, because you can also get the Kindle software for your Surface, which you install, and then you can read all your Kindle books on here. So you don't just need to get what Microsoft has provided in terms of content, which, as far as ebooks are concerned, it hasn't been that much. But I think the Surface Pro could make a good ebook reader as well. I would probably be more inclined to read ebooks in a vertical orientation rather than the horizontal orientation of the Surface Pro. And I have this as a future point, so I don't want to get into it right now. But that's just a use case scenario. Some people would be more comfortable, with one orientation over another. Either way, text was certainly clear enough, as was color representation for my eyes. And obviously, I don't have perfect vision, but I think I know a good screen when I see it. In terms of audio quality, the speaker right there, not amazing. It was okay. Unfortunately, if the volume was too high or if there's too much audio being pushed down the pike, it kind of clipped, and that became annoying. So I would be inclined to use headphones or some kind of external audio speakers instead of the internal speakers. At least over a period of time. I would not expect that you're going to listen to a lot of music on here with the speakers built into the Surface Pro. In terms of camera, let's go ahead and launch that camera. Or I should say cameras. I thought they were good enough. Consider that the camera or cameras that you have probably on your current laptop aren't amazing. I thought these were average to potentially even above average for cameras, considering that you're going to be likely using the cameras not necessarily just to record videos, but just as webcams. And they'll work just fine, certainly better in brighter light or brighter conditions than in lower light conditions. But I think in terms of using it for Skype or video chat, they do just fine. So I did not find them to be wanting in any way, shape, or form. In terms of battery, as I said kind of in the beginning, to set the stage, the Surface Pro is not an iPad replacement. It really isn't. It's priced differently. It is addressing a different part of the marketplace, and that is specifically in the range of Ultrabooks, these super lightweight, super powerful computers that you can use. And I would say that as far as the battery goes, it was probably in line with just about every other Ultrabook that I tried. A few hours. I don't think I could get through an entire day of using this without needing to recharge. That being said, I did also make note, especially during the live unboxing, the charger I actually appreciated because they give you a USB port. So when you plug it in, you can also connect an extra USB device to charge it. To the power brick. I also appreciated the magnetic connection that it would make when I snapped in, as soon as I can get it to align perfectly. So it fit right in there, very clean, very easy to charge it. But that being said, the battery was nothing to write home about, certainly nothing that would make it stand out from other Ultrabooks or devices in its class. As far as hardware and software parity is concerned, parity as in being kind of even with one another, at this stage, I don't know if there's a better Windows 8 experience on touchscreen hardware available. And that's important to note because I've tried a few other Windows 8 machines put out by OEMs, and unfortunately, they're kind of weighed down by software options that don't need to be there. Microsoft has kind of eliminated as much of that clutter as possible. If you're looking for a good Windows PC, you definitely want to keep your eye out for the Signature series of PCs that Microsoft has said, hey, these are really good Windows experiences. And so as far as Windows 8 goes, in line with the hardware that Microsoft's provided in the Pro, at this stage, it doesn't get any better than this, specifically using touch, the touch paradigm in relation to Windows 8. This has, and really it quickly became my go-to Windows 8 touchscreen experience. And I have to clarify that because I do have go-to Windows 8 experiences that don't have touchscreens. But I would say it was certainly worth trying. And especially after my horrific experience with the Surface RT, and I'm not alone apparently in having bad experiences with that. But the hardware and software parity with the Surface Pro, I thought were completely in line with one another. for a good Windows 8 experience. This is not a review on Windows 8. You already know how I feel, or you should already know how I feel about that. People are asking to do a cut the rope test. Can't do it right now, although I do have it. Okay, wait, no, maybe I can do it right now. Forget it. This is live. We'll do it. We'll do it. Forget it. We'll do it live. That's my Bill O'Reilly impression there. This started with the Windows RT or Surface RT, a problem where I saw dropped frames and it was just a horrible experience. The cut the rope test passes with flying colors, although the speaker you can hear is really not that great right now. Never had an issue with any of the frame rates on on any game that I played on the Surface Pro, even though I'm obviously not paying attention to the game being played right now. Cut the Rope worked, as did, I was playing it earlier. Fruit Ninja is a ton of fun on touchscreen devices. I don't know if you would want to play Fruit Ninja on on any kind of non-touch computer. The only problem I found with Fruit Ninja was this. I was playing, I was doing the swiping, and here, I'll show you what I did. I'm swiping. I swiped around, and unfortunately I swiped in a menu, which paused it. And then, right when I was getting a high score, I ended up swiping down, and okay, now it's going to make a liar. I swiped it down and closed it like that. It was kind of frustrating. So be careful with playing swiping games on your Surface computer, because on the Surface, to close an application, you basically go to the top of the screen and you swipe down, and it closes the app. Found that to be a bit frustrating. Still, it does pass the cut the rope test. Thank you for asking, whoever asked, even though the comments have kind of scrolled off. Hopefully the live feed is still working well enough, because I have I'm streaming live over a Comcast connection, and sometimes it's a bit flaky. In terms of apps selection, this is a question that some people now have begun to ask in terms of tablet type of computing experiences, and I would say it was okay. Yeah, it was fine. I mean, I could download a piano app. I can't play piano, but I could download an app. I mean, hey, that means something. And then I found... Okay, I know this is crazy, because I could probably go out to the web and find better experiences, but check this out. There is an app called Tom and Jerry that pulls in links to where you can watch all the classic Tom and Jerry cartoons. That was something I couldn't find on any other platform. Maybe I was looking in the wrong place, but it's something that's available for Windows 8. Microsoft has to get their story together in terms of giving developers something that they can sink their teeth into. Unfortunately, Windows 8 PCs aren't selling that well, and that could change at some point. And developers may still come aboard, but at this stage, the app selection is not amazing. It isn't. You can find the basics and hope for the best. But at this point, the reason you might want to go with the Surface Pro is because you've got the hope. The apps that are available now you'd be interested in, just some basic games and Netflix and the Kindle Reader and your Evernote, Skype, and things that you would use your typical computer for, including your pocket computer or tablet computer. But you're definitely not going to buy a Surface Pro for the app selection today. Or you'd buy the Surface Pro because you wanted to use desktop applications. Although at the point where you're using this, you definitely want to rely on a traditional keyboard and a mouse, and or the stylus. And I had noted this as something that I didn't like, but now that we've reached the point of app selections and accessories ecosystem, I appreciated that Microsoft made the stylus in such a way that it could basically latch onto the same place where you plug in the power brick, so it's there. It's just that the connection was so loose that it kept falling off. And I'm not a user of a stylus. Never really have been. They're fun to have, I mean, especially if you do a lot of drawing or writing or the ink. And it works well when it works. So when I went to remove the stylus today, look what happened. The connector broke away from the stylus. Just snapped right off. I'm sure it'll snap back on, but I did not have a great experience with the stylus. It almost seemed like an afterthought. In terms of the way Microsoft created the experience. Good if you want to use a stylus, and I'm glad it's there. I found the implementation of it in terms of accommodating it within the hardware instead of like what they have with the Galaxy Note 2. So, for example, here, I realize this is not a review on Android, but you know how you can slide the S Pen in and it's there, it's tucked away? That's a great implementation of a stylus and accommodating it. Microsoft didn't go that far, or I should say they didn't go far enough, which was a bit disappointing, and now I have a broken stylus. It's really kind of sad. All right, so the next one, accessories ecosystem. In the realm, you can get a few accessories, and I think Surface is going to be around for a while, so it's a safe bet that Microsoft's going to continue to release accessories for the Surface, or Surface-type accessories will be available from third-party or vendors. So I would say it's on its way. I don't think there's a massive amount of need for Surface accessories, if only because Surfaces have not sold all that well, or as well as I think Microsoft was hoping they would sell. Maybe a future release of Windows Blue or 8.1 coming down the pike, that may change things. But unfortunately, Microsoft is facing a lot of ambivalence in the marketplace. People just don't want to spend $900 on a computer these days when all they're going to use it for is some basic things like surfing the web, watching Netflix, Skype, everything that I've covered that you can do on a Surface Pro, and then some. Yes, you could run Photoshop. However, that's not, for many people, the hallmark of what makes a good computing experience. Still important. You could run Photoshop if you had that on the Surface Pro. In terms of cost and value, because remember, cost is relative, as is value. You may not find it very valuable. Your needs may be completely different than somebody else's. However, I find that as I go through the things that I like and who this is for, I found the value of how much a Surface is in relation to what it can provide you as a user. I found it to be a good value. So if you're looking for, well, Chris, give me the bottom line. Did you give it a thumbs up, a thumbs down? I would give the Surface Pro a thumbs up, generally speaking. Not without its share of snags, as I've covered and will continue to cover, but I would say that my review has been largely positive. And I know that shocks a lot of people. I don't know why. I give everything a fair shake, or at least I try to. I can't hold the Surface Pro responsible for the faults of everything else, including its operating system. But for what it is, I think it's a fantastic device. Good cost in terms of its value to the user if you are that user. So things that I like, to kind of recap or to cover again, the Surface Pro is not a Surface RT. That's a good thing. I did not like the Surface RT. In fact, very few people did like the Surface RT. It looks like Pokerface N1 says it won't replace anything, but if you got the money, you should get it. That's pretty much what I'm saying, Pokerface N1. That's something that I happen to appreciate. I found those two things to be in line. TH3 Balu asks, would you consider the Surface Pro, only a media consumption device or also a creation device? Both. I think it does both fairly well. Remember, it's running on a tried and true platform. As much as a traditional PC as we know it with Windows, you can run very powerful apps on it, traditional apps that you might be running on your current laptop or desktop system. You could run on the Surface Pro. And that's how we viewed traditional PCs as, not just consumption, but also creation devices. And that's the Surface Pro's sweet spot. I think it can handle both of them well, or at least well enough, certainly for the price. And at this stage, it's very difficult for anybody to use one or the other. They want to have both, and I think the Surface Pro kind of plays that card as well as that card could be played, if that's something that interests you. It's lightweight and yet powerful, speaking again to these questions that you are asking as well as the answers I've provided. And then the top reason why I like it has a responsive screen. And you just don't think of these things. You could read the spec sheets all the live long day, but the question is it a good experience? Because if it isn't, I've had machines that had amazing specs, but they sucked. They were horrible experiences. The Surface Pro did not disappoint, and part of that was having such a responsive screen. I think that it spoke volumes to wanting to use the Surface Pro, to having it around, to being able to browse, to pick it up, to put it down and not have to worry about it. That's what I want in a tablet computer, as a casual consumer. And then, of course, when it comes time to, crunching something or doing something, that, may require creation tools, I found that the Surface Pro could also, handle it just as well, although touch isn't as deeply involved unless, of course, you're doing anything with a stylus or, let's see here, pull it up here. One of the better painting applications that are available. Fresh Paint is free, and Art Rage, I don't know if you guys knew about this, is also available, Art Rage 4, and you could paint. This is like the #1 art tool available for OS X and Windows, and it works just fine on the Surface Pro. There's my finger. Very responsive, and so if you are a content creator in that capacity, you should be happy as well. Jai Cox says, everybody like. That's great. I agree. Ryan Terry says, does it get hot? It gets a little warm. I think more warm when it's charging. In terms of heavy use, I'd be concerned about watching a couple of videos using Netflix or any video streaming service like YouTube on this without, feeling like I need to recharge it. It does get a little warm. It really does. There's only so much you can, so far you can push a PC like this. Chris, is the distance between the active digitizer matrix and the glass screen as negligible as they said in their summer press conference, like writing on paper? It's close. There's definitely a delay. Not by much. I've seen worse delay. So, for example, let me see here. What can I do here? Let's pull up Explorer. I'll go up here. Open the keyboard. Let's do ink. Delete those. Saying Chris Perillo. So you can see here. If I don't know. Murrow. CHRIS. It's barely perceivable. If there is any delay, I would say it'd be very, very minor. Most users would not perceive it. So I would say, as far as a digitizer experience is concerned, probably one of the better experiences that I've had. If that's a big deal for you, that is certainly not a shortcoming with the Surface Pro. I believe that they would be accurate if that's what they released at the press conference. So those are some things that I like. There were also things I didn't like, as I've kind of peppered in as I've talked through this review and answered your questions. I'm doing my best to produce and do these things at the same time. Thank you again for your patience with pushing through this live. I thought it was a sloppy implementation of the Stylus in terms of accommodating it in the hardware. The portrait mode for Windows, or certainly in the way that they designed the Surface, it's longer than it is taller. And it was a bit awkward to use Windows in this orientation, other than if I was reading. That was really the only time that I found portrait mode to be usable in any way, shape, or form. But even then, I wasn't very inclined to use the Surface like this. I was more inclined to hold it like this. It just felt better balanced. If I'm holding it like this, it just didn't seem to... I don't know, some people do that with their monitors. They swivel them to the side, like it used to be in the classic desktop publishing days. It's just not for me. That's something that I didn't really think the software was necessarily optimized for, although most of the software that is designed around the Windows 8 experience is responsive enough to accommodate whatever screen resolution that you have, whatever screen that you have in front of you. There is no magnetic snap for the keyboard, and granted, the keyboard they say is, I mean, yes, it snaps in there, but in terms of snapping on top, there's no, it doesn't, I mean, it'll lay there, but I just thought it was like, well, why wouldn't they have like something magnet on top so that it would stick there instead of potentially falling away or something getting jammed in there? So that was just something that I was surprised they didn't implement. Not a big deal. I mean, like, these are very minor things. I had to think about the things that I just didn't like about it, and really couldn't find many things to complain about. So these aren't real complaints. I'm just saying these are the things I didn't like. Instant on wasn't as instant on as it could be. Sometimes I would have to wait a few seconds for it to kind of figure out what was going on. Could be a hardware issue, could be a hardware in conjunction with software issue, but certainly it acts more like a traditional PC than I think it does a newer tablet computer, what you might expect from using a tablet computer running Ubuntu, when that ultimately ships, or Android, iOS, anything like that. So, who is this for? Who is the Surface Pro for? I wrote down, and you can read along, people who want a new portable PC. Should you run out and get this now? I wouldn't say you would need to. I wouldn't say that about any device. But if you're looking for a new PC and you're looking for a good PC experience and you expect to pay traditional PC prices, I think you would be happy with the Surface Pro. Another person this might be good for, is someone who believes that what Microsoft has created is not a compromise. So that falls in line with Windows 8. Windows 8 is a UX disaster in the sense that your mind has to switch between using this touch optimized experience here, the modern experience, multi-finger gestures or multi-point gestures, and then switching back and forth between that and the classic desktop, which wasn't necessarily optimized for touch. Yes, you can touch, and they've made certain optimizations to make it easier to interact with touch, but really the only way to interact with the classic desktop is by using a keyboard and a traditional pointer. And that traditional pointer is also built in to the touchpad or trackpad here on, at least the type cover. So if you don't mind those compromises, I think you'd be happy with the Surface Pro. If you love the promise of what Windows 8 is today and what it can be, then I think the Surface Pro is about the best use case for Windows 8 that I've seen to date, specifically in relation with the touchscreen, a portable computer, next generation computing, and I think that's where Microsoft's really had the biggest struggles, to try to sell people on the idea of Windows 8 when they're just fine with Windows XP or Windows 7 or another portable computing experience that has nothing to do with Microsoft or its software. Who is this not for? If you are a casual tablet user, the Surface Pro is not for you. You're going to be spending way too much money and getting way too little out of it. There are better casual tablet experiences out there, whether you're talking about phablets like a Note 2 or an iPad mini. Again, I don't want to draw comparisons or conclusions because everyone's got a different perspective. I'm just saying, for the casual user who may just do a little and do a lot of consumption, I don't know if the Surface Pro is the best. I really don't. I don't also believe that budget-conscious consumers are going to be interested in the Surface Pro. You're going to pay a pretty penny in comparison to other devices in the market. You're going to get more from it, potentially, like a touchscreen. You're going to get a responsive system. You're going to get a flagship device. But not everybody wants and or needs that from their daily computing experiences. And so I think that's a big deal. If you're budget conscious, the Surface Pro should be stricken from your list, as should the Surface RT. I'm not the only person to necessarily say that, and I've kind of backed up my experiences with the data that I've collected and shown you sometimes in the videos on YouTube. If you're looking for a traditional laptop, keep looking. It's not a traditional laptop. It's the next generation of hardware that Microsoft believes is its future at this stage. Windows 8 is still a bit immature. You might want to wait for Windows Blue or Windows 8.1. If that's what's been holding you back. It's really for power users, the Surface Pro, at this stage, not for the average consumer. And that really pains me to say that, but I just think that for a first version, Microsoft did a fantastic job. Unfortunately, there's a lot of competition that's already out there, and Microsoft's feeling that pinch. And unfortunately, that just relegates products like the Surface Pro to power users like me. And like I said, I happen to like the device. It's just I don't think the average consumer would appreciate it. Why don't people want to buy it because of its price? Asks Parker2456 Able. Possibly, yeah. As a casual consumer, if you just need the basics, why would you pay for more than just the basics? It doesn't make any fiscal sense. Other questions that I wanted to address as when I went to Facebook and asked you if I could do or you wanted me to do this review live. And by the way, thank you for tuning in. These people ask these questions. Talk about the pen that came with it. Features. Does it register your palm when you use the pen? I didn't notice that my palm was necessarily resting on the device when I was using the stylus or the digitizer, that whole experience. So it wasn't an issue for me, but I'm not a power stylus user. Graylin Compels Sakaris asks about gaming performance. Did not throw a lot of hardcore games at it, and I don't think it was designed to run a lot of those traditional PC games, but for casual gaming, I thought it was just fine. It held its own. Sunny Kalra asks, can Microsoft ever beat Apple products in terms of build quality because Surface Pro is the best device by Microsoft today in PCs? Yes, is the answer to that question. I think Microsoft did a great job with the design, generally speaking, the implementation. I feel this is a quality piece of hardware at its core, minus a few of the smaller issues with the accessories. The stylus that broke on me today, I kid you not, it just happened today. The Yoga is the best use case for Windows 8 desktop mode in laptop form or Metro mode in tablet form, the perfect hybrid. Nathan, glad you brought it up because I did unbox the Yoga a while ago. And Arlind Pulashi asks, how does it compare to other Windows laptops that run Windows 8? I think it compares favorably, compared to a traditional, the Yoga is more of a traditional laptop design, although the screen flips back all the way. If you're more comfortable with this as a usability paradigm, you're not going to be happy with the Surface Pro. That being said, I think Windows 8 was better managed on the Surface Pro than it has been on any other Windows 8 device created by OEMs, if only because the software layer that a lot of OEMs add on that's completely unnecessary, Microsoft eliminates. And I think that it goes to the Surface Pro's strengths as much as anything else, the implementation of software. What are your thoughts, asks Cheyenne Shukrozar, on running other operating systems such as Ubuntu as a primary OS on it? If Microsoft really wanted to make waves, they'd make it a hell of a lot easier. I'm just saying. I mean, if they really wanted to sell the Surface Pro, they're selling the hardware at that point, and they're not making a lot of money on it. But I think when Ubuntu releases a fully optimized touch experience, it'd be nutty to see happen, but how many Surface Pros do you think would be sold if Microsoft better enabled alternate operating systems on the platform, the hardware platform, not software platform? I think it's potentially worth investigating. I mean, ultimately, what's Microsoft's game? They're there to sell you hardware at this stage with the Surface Pro, which is really, even though Microsoft sold hardware in the past, they've never created their own PC. A Surface Pro, the first version was, I think, a good first version. But would you buy a Surface Pro above anything else if it was just as easy to run Ubuntu on it? Again, power users. I'm talking about power users, not the average user. The average user doesn't care. They just do not care what OS they're running. They just want to play Angry Birds and be done with it. So I think Microsoft could potentially enable or better enable the Ubuntu Touch experience on Surface Pros and potentially sell a few more. Probably not, enough to make that much of a dent, but they're eliminating a reason that some people wouldn't necessarily pick up a Surface Pro versus another PC. Benjamin Young, and again, I'm trying to separate the Surface Pro hardware from Microsoft software and services. They're two completely different things, even though, yes, they're sewn together in this experience. Benjamin Young, Chris, you've said before that the PC is dead. What do you think Microsoft will have to do to save the PC? Okay, so when I say that the PC is dead, think about like casual users. People like my dad use their smartphone as their primary PC. Editing video, which he could have done on Windows XP but never did. Check email, surf the web, check sports scores. Everything that he would have done on a PC, he can get done on his phone, and he already has a phone. Or he could get done on the average tablet computer, which could be like $150 if he went with a Nexus 7. So why would you spend $1,000 on something when you could get a different product and spend substantially less and get just as much out of it? And that is Microsoft's biggest challenge in the game today. The Surface Pro would have been amazing a decade ago. Like, it would have been killer. Unfortunately, today, a lot of what users need, these concerns are already being addressed by platforms that don't exist in Microsoft's camp. So it's a market reality that Microsoft needs to face. I think they're doing as good a job as could be expected. In the process of releasing the Surface Pro, they really upset a lot of their OEMs. And they're saying Microsoft's blaming OEMs blaming Microsoft. And here's the problem with that. Windows needs the user more than the user needs Windows today. And it wasn't always that case. When I was growing up in the golden age of home computing, I love watching old videos on YouTube. Nostalgia, it trips me out. It was something when you see that software was, Microsoft Windows compatible, or, it would run, on this, and you knew you could believe in that software and buy it and be fine with it. Unfortunately, it doesn't exist, or that need doesn't exist anymore. Most software is not going to be picked up off the shelf. It's going to be downloaded from the web or, through some kind of app store. And as I said, Microsoft is woefully behind. And forget about, looking at raw numbers. I don't care if a vendor brags and says we have 500,000 apps in the App Store. Because let's face it, 99% of the apps in any app store are absolute crap. It's not about that. It's about the selection. It's about having apps that are worth using. Because a lot of them, they're free, not even worth the price of free. Half of them out there on any platform. It's that, Microsoft's lost a lot of its developer mojo because users are on other platforms. We just don't need Windows as much as Windows needs us these days. And I think that's very, very important to make note of. Trevor Vaubel says you don't need to save the PC. Paradigm shift has happened. There will always be a need for PCs, well, at least until the power is up, because the power users like video editors and such. Exactly. I think there's always going to be a place for PC gaming, just like console gaming. There will always I need a traditional computer to do the things that I do today, not just for multitasking, but just because of power and the tool set, the software experience. I can work a lot faster in that type of computing environment compared to if I was going mobile and a phone is good enough. So there's always going to be a place for it. It's just going to be relegated to a part of the market that it's not going to be in the same cycle as it has been. You needed a computer back in the day. You needed to go to the computer to do these things. Well, now you don't need to go to the computer. The computer's always on you. And I keep pointing to this as a computer, and I'll point to this just as well as a computer because it does everything a computer can do. Hardware, software, experiences. As far as the average user goes, they just don't necessarily need something like this every single time. It's really for edge users. Frank Norman says, thank you for that statement. You're welcome. Hopefully, if I was clarifying something, maybe not. OEMs have switched to Android with a paradigm shift, so it had to be a SIA OEMs for the most part. And see, that's the thing. Microsoft, Android's getting there. And as is Chrome OS, I've done Chromebook reviews and give you my thoughts on Chromebooks. And it works well enough for what most people might need, and that's access to the web. See here, anything else? Fusion Soccer 70. Is there anything like a Surface Pro that functions like a desktop that's closer to $500? Not that I've seen, honestly. Not really. You're not going to get a good experience for anything less than $1,000 within the PC range. And much like OEMs have been dropping Windows RT as if it was a hot potato, I don't know what Microsoft's thinking with Windows RT. I went on record by saying, and I just want to, again, pull this over just to show you, when I do this stuff, I really take a hard look at, options. The Windows Phone experience is good. I mean, it is solid. The problem is it was a few years too late. What I wish Microsoft would have done with Windows RT was taken the Windows Phone OS and blown it into a tablet-like experience. And I think if by doing that, it would have been outstanding. And I think Windows RT tablets could have sold differently. I think a lot more people would have been buying them. Believe that or not. Especially if they could have continued to push that price down lower. But at this point, a Windows RT tablet experience, if you spend anything more than $200, you're probably wasting your money. It's my opinion. Look in the marketplace if you don't believe me. They have not sold that well for a reason. Chris, tell me what size hoodie are you? I'm a large-ish. Let's see here. Anything? How are you watching Flash videos in a browser? I was watching them just fine on the Surface. And if I had an issue with the web browser and the Metro or Modern experience, I just flipped over to the desktop and it was fine. PC gaming on the Surface, not going to happen for a while. Different kind of PC gaming, right? We're not talking about, hardcore stuff, where you're pushing 60 frames a second, like all these things happening and anti-aliasing and we're talking about casual types of games or decent enough games that you might play on a tablet type of computer. And for a lot of users, that's what they need for gaming. Not everyone, but that's a good chunk of users. There's a reason there's so many casual gamers out there. looking for any other questions as I kind of round this up. I realize I went a little over, longer than I wanted to go, but I definitely wanted to make sure I addressed everything and answered questions in this live review. And I'm only able to do that because you guys were paying attention and liking and sharing and commenting and asking questions. So thank you. If you want me to do more live reviews kind of like this, let me know. I would be happy to do so. It's kind of hard as I'm like scrolling through the laundry list of questions. Some of them aren't really questions. Spotted Head 6 asks, are there still blue screens of death? Yes, I had one. It was a frowny face. I posted it to Instagram. It was a while ago, but they definitely happen. They look prettier than they used to look, those blue screens of death. They got the little frowny face. Do you think that along with the dying PC, Windows is losing some ground to OS X? Asked Tyler B273. It's possible. Apple, here's the thing. Apple may be selling fewer Macs, or they may be selling more. I'm, not an analyst, but I can tell you that Apple makes a hell of a lot more money with the hardware that they sell. That's part of their margin. PCs have typically been on the low end. People not spending a lot of money or wanting to spend a lot of money. So Microsoft doesn't have a lot of operating margin there in terms of profitability. As same could be said for OEMs as well. So Apple, above anything else, is probably making more money. Even if it's not selling as many PCs as Microsoft, or certainly as many Macs as traditional Windows PCs, they're still making more money. And the bottom line is, would you rather brag about selling more products or making more money? It depends on how you're measuring. And I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just saying, you got to take it for what it is. And these are two different approaches to the same marketplace. Scott Crowley asks, this is a pretty good one. Which is purely aesthetically prettier, Surface RT or Pro or the iPad? Which iPad? I'll narrow it down. I think aesthetically speaking, because there are fewer options for hardware on the iPad, either one, the mini or the regular iPad, I'd have to give it to the iPad from a design perspective. Certainly from a weight perspective and from an options perspective. Very rarely do I need to transfer anything by way of some kind of USB stick. If that's a need for you, then of course the iPad might be out, other than using their camera connection kit, which you can get from Apple if you didn't know that. But I think aesthetically, what's pleasing for me, I think I'm much happier with an iPad. It's more svelte, certainly on the sides. Here's the mini, nice curved edges. Edges are a bit sharper on the surface, which looks nice. But when you start holding it, it cuts into you kind of. I mean, not like slices into you, but it's an edge. You don't really perceive a lot of those edges, at least on the iPad mini. And I think the edges, having the curved back on the iPad, the regular iPad, I think aesthetically is more pleasing for me. But that's relative, right? I'm not saying one is empirically better than the other, because what I like may not be what you like. Going to answer a couple more here. Chris, can you connect a mouse? Asks Neil Patel. Yes, you can. It's a PC. It's the answer to your question. Let's see here. Chris Albert 275 asks, and I'll leave it at this. Do you believe that PCs and their components will be seeing serious price drops anytime soon? Again, not an analyst, but if fewer people are buying the products, to try to move product, you could drop the price, but fewer people are going to buy the products, which would tell me that I think those products are no longer going to be sold at some point. When users no longer need something, you just stop making them because you can't sell them. So even if you drop the prices, you have to consider what's happening in the marketplace to know that even if you did drop the price, if someone's going to buy it. I don't know if price is the only thing that people have in mind when it comes to buying or not buying a particular product. Certainly, it's important to be budget conscious. But that being said, I don't know even if Microsoft were to sell the Surface Pro, which they're not going to do, at $500, they're not going to do it. I don't know if it would move any faster. Value is relative, and unfortunately, as I said before, people just don't see their need for Windows as much anymore. Office, yes, certainly, but for some at least, but for others, no, not so much. It's perceived value, and unfortunately, Microsoft is kind of lost out. With that, they've lost a lot of value in the velocity of the Windows brand. even though they're clinging on to it as if that was the only value they had. I think it's going to be a tremendous struggle for them moving forward because people just don't see Windows, the need for... People put up with Windows. They didn't want it necessarily, other than power users, people who loved it. But the marketplace reality is that, they've lost a lot of confidence. Consumer confidence, I think, is the biggest hurdle that they have to overcome. And I don't think even dropping the price, which would probably make it look worse than it actually is. Oh, like, they're dropping the price. This must suck. Think about the average consumer. We just don't need it as much anymore. Power users, yes. Average users, I wouldn't say so much. So that being said, thank you everybody for bearing with me for darn near an hour. If I want to stop asking questions because I want to close it up. Surface Pro or Bacon? I'm going to have to give this one to Bacon. I would say iPad or Bacon? I would say Bacon. Android or Bacon? Bacon. iPhone or Bacon? Bacon. Ubuntu or Bacon? Bacon. Come on. You knew how I was going to answer that question. I've got my review juice with me, and hopefully everybody out there had a good time. I did. I appreciated the interactivity, and hopefully if you watched this after it was live, you value it as much as the people who were able to watch it live. Hopefully we'll catch you on the flip side. If you do, again, I have to remind you, you want me to do another live review of something, I would be happy to do it. You just have to let me know that that's what you want from me, and I would be more than happy to provide that for you. It's what I'm here for. I'm here for you. So thanks again for appreciating the things that we do for you every day, because I don't know if this would be as much fun if you weren't here with me, even virtually. We'll see you later.